What?
For your check, you sent the case.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I didn't
Send me a
realize.
picture of it.
Not a problem. Thank you.
No problem. I'm wondering if something now. You ordering?
No, thank you. Thank you, Perez.
Are you a Chabad?
I am, but I'm in a class now, and then I'm leaving soon again. And then I'm in a class.
I just want to come talk to you for a second. I want to have it.
I may be middle of a class, but come and we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll be there in a minute.
Stella. Sally, you want to come here a second, Sally, please? Stella.
Morning.
I'm sorry. Hello. I was muted. Hello, Nona. How are you? Welcome. Hello, Susan. Nice to see you and meet you. Hello, Claire.
Oh, a bunch of my favorite people here.
Yeah, you know everyone.
Sure, I know Susie. Susie and I go way back.
Really?
Oh, my mom and my parents and Susie and Jack were very, very good friends.
Wow. Okay. So I just met Susie now, and we feel very privileged.
Yeah. Hi,
And
Susie.
nice to see you on.
Hi there. I don't see you. I don't know what.
Oh, she just clicked herself
Let's
off.
click this out. Okay.
Okay. Hi, Mommy.
Claire. You
She's
hear us,
trying to-
Claire?
Can you hear?
Hello, Francis. Claire, you hear us?
No, she doesn't hear.
Take a look, meanwhile, if you can share, if on your computer you can share a screen while we're waiting for people to come in.
No, host disabled participants to share.
I'm trying to figure out why it's not allowing. 1 second.
When you created the Zoom link,
No, so let me do something while we're in here.
okay.
Let me do, no, this is a ongoing thing that we have. It's one to,
It's when you create the Zoom link, you generally have to indicate in the menu like that.
yeah. No, but I thought we did when I'm trying to do something here. Worst comes to worst, Nona, email me your thing. If it doesn't get working, because I thought I did it, that you can do it. Worst comes, email me. Could you know my email address? You're muted, Nona. Nona, you're muted.
Okay, I'll email it to
Email
you.
worst comes to worst. I'm trying to figure out. We have a few minutes till.
Okay, so
class,
hold on.
but I'm trying to. I thought I set it up.
There you go.
Yeah. Hello, Susan. Good to see you back. I thought I set it up.
Now,
Hold on.
now I can see you. Baruch Hashem. Before I only saw me. And I'm not giving lectures.
It's not sharing.
What?
You can't share. Hold
No,
on,
no.
let me, hold on. 1 minute.
How do I go back? Is David next to you? Nona,
Hold
is
on,
David
I'm
near you?
loading it.
Or email me.
No, he's teaching. He's teaching.
Oh,
Yeah. What's your email? What's your email address?
email to Rabbi Kraz, KRAS @gmail.com.
I have Rabbi Moishi at Chabad.
Yeah,
No,
that's fine. Rabbi Moshe at Chabad, it's fine.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me send.
I thought I
Okay,
set
I
it
just
up.
sent it to you. I just sent
Let me
it.
make sure I got it. So I have it
Yeah.
in case.
I just emailed it, so hopefully.
How come you can't share?
I don't know. It's saying I can't host disabled participant screen. Is there something, Moishi?
Well, the
Rabbi?
host, he's the host.
Who's the host?
I'm the host.
Well, you have to disable.
How do I go in now? I thought I did, but how do I go in now? Where can I go now to edit?
You have to go into your settings of your meeting. Like you have to go into the settings of it.
Go
Yeah,
back to when you
How do I go into
created.
setting? I don't think it's allowing me to go into the settings
Okay, the
now.
only other way that Nona can do this is she can create a meeting, send you the link,
No, these people are.
and
No,
then
no,
how
no,
many
no,
people?
No, no,
Oh,
no.
that's the
no.
other way.
I just sent him the.
You know what I'll do,
calendar.
Nona? You know what I'll do? I will soon make you a host. After I do introduction, I'll make you the host.
Oh, okay.
So
That
then
will
you can
work.
be able to do it. Okay, we'll try it
Okay.
that way. But anyways, we are now
And-
letting people in. We have some time, so we're good.
Yeah, we have time.
Okay, this
But
is-
did you get my email yet or no?
I did get your email. I did get your email.
Okay, good.
Let me just double check. I got your email. Worst comes to worst. We'll try it that way.
Okay, worst comes to worst, you have it, so.
Yeah. So, but we'll try it the other way.
Mhm.
Everyone, welcome.
It's stormy out there. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello, Rabbi.
Hello, Isaac.
How are you, sir?
Very good. Hello, Ellie. Hello,
Moshe Mazel Tov, huh?
Susie. Yes, thank you very much. And hello, Claire again. And Lillian. So nice to see you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And Francis. And Morris. And Gerald. Starkman, Morris Stelzner. David Kelsey. So I'm going to start here. I want to say a few words of introduction. So first of all, I want to welcome you all to our latest and the newest and very exciting project, Young at Heart. I think everyone who's sitting here on Zoom with us feels young at heart. And we want to be able to help you continue to feel young at heart, positive, full of life, and part of a community of like-minded people. So we are very excited now through Zoom to be able to bring programming, relevant programming, interesting talks. We'll soon talk about the talk today, activities, a pre-Shabbat program. And as this kicks off, and with your feedback as well, we'd like to create more and more interesting things happening with you, for you, we have a lot of ideas in mind, and like everything, we're gonna slowly start rolling out. So really, it's a great pleasure to welcome you today to our first program of Young at Heart. And we are very excited. Hello, Charles and Michelle.
Hello.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Rabbi.
We are very excited to have with us today to kick off someone who's been very involved with Chabad for a long time, Nona Moscovitz, who her mother, who's on here, Claire, has actually been very involved in a program we've been doing for a while in Le Graham, a beautiful seniors autonomous living home here in TMR, which quite now has quite a few Jewish residents. And we were holding there every few weeks a Shabbat program, Friday. So Claire's always been very involved in helping us bring people together and in a good spirited environment, and a Jewish environment. So it's very special for us to have as our first talk, and especially now that we are in the midst of a difficult time, the pandemic. I don't want to talk about it much. We all know and know what the experience is like. But we wanted to have our opening sort of talk about the ways of dealing with all the negative that we feel and we see around us all the time. And you open up your radio and you read the newspaper, and you're looking for a little bit of light, and the next day or in the morning, and not necessarily you get it, and sometimes you hear it's worse. So there's a lot of things that are racing on in our brains and in our hearts that are, confusing us and making us feel down, and maybe, who knows when we're going to get out of this. So we wanted to kick it off, which is the purpose of what a younger heart is, to feel uplifted, positive, and especially gathering that strength of together. So we thought Nona would be a great choice. We know she's a great choice. So Nona is a graduate from McGill University with a master's in social work, has been involved for years in mental health, with expertise in program development and management, supervision of clinical staff and students, and specifically to the field of education. And even though Nona is officially retired herself, she's still educating at a university level in her field. She is a member of the Seniors Advisory Committee of the Canadian Mental Health Commission of Canada. She has written extensively, involved in many research projects, presented at many conferences and workshops across Canada, but most importantly, she's a dear friend and someone who we know is a very warm, happy person. And we're so happy that she is here with us today. During her talk, I am going to mute everyone. So Nona, you'll have to unmute yourself. And I'm going to pass the baton to Nona. She'll give a presentation, and then there'll be a chance to ask questions, as well. So let me just, Nona, make you.
Are you going to make me host?
I'm going to make you co-host now. 1 second. Let me find your name here. Oh, I'm going to make you co-host now, so I can let the people in. Okay, so you're now co-host. See if you can put up your presentation.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So hold on. Okay. Good morning. Thank you, Rabbi, for the introduction. So I have been retired from the healthcare sector. I worked at one of the CIUSs, the Central West Montreal, for many, many years. But I've continued to teach at the School of Social Work at McGill. My area of expertise has been over the years working with older adults in the area of mental health. So I too am a senior. So I'm going through, if not the same, but similar experiences that you might be experiencing. So I thought today was a good way to kind of jumpstart the sessions that Chabad of the town has organized, because I think we're in a place today which is a place we've all never been before. And I'm going to just start the PowerPoint that I have. Hold on a second. Okay, does everyone see it? Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
we see.
Okay, great. So I'm hoping, I think, are you able to all control your speakers as well, that you could, yeah, you could undo your, you could mute and unmute yourself, right?
Yes,
So
everyone's
if you
able
want-
to unmute themselves. It's better to keep yourself muted in case there's background noise, but if you have a question, you
Right.
can unmute yourself.
Excellent. Okay, great. So today we're going to talk about facing today's challenges with positivity. And as Rabbi said, today we hear so much that's going on, and a lot of it is negative information, not only about the pandemic, but just the political climate, the whole environment. We live border to border with the US. We've seen what's been going on there. We have our own challenges as well. But today I wanted to really focus on looking at some positivity about where we are today and moving forward. So I welcome all of you once again. And oh, sorry, I just got a pop-up. So I welcome all of you. As I'm not going to reintroduce myself, but I can see all of you, so I can see where you're all at. I'm glad to see a lot of the faces. Some of you, I just see the names. That's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Just be careful about muting yourself, please, so that we don't hear the background. Thank you. Okay. So our world as we know it. We're living through it. We all see it and we all feel it. But even though we're all experiencing the same events, we might be experiencing it differently. So I'm just wondering if anyone wants to just pop in and just say kind of, what are you thinking? What are you seeing? What are you feeling today? Where's everyone at today? How's everyone feeling? Anyone can speak. No one's speaking? Everyone's quiet? Well, I know there's a snowstorm outside, but one thing about the pandemic is I don't have to worry about going anywhere. So I don't have to drive. So that's a positive thing. So that's good. So if I look at the moment, in the moment today, it's a good day because I'm safe. I'm in my house. I have food in my fridge. I have a roof over my head, and I'm speaking to people, which is one of the best things about this moment, is that we are together here and we're not alone, which is one of the things that we very often experience. It's a year already. And who would have thought 8 months ago that we would be sitting here again in February in a similar situation than we were a year ago. But I'm sure that some of you have experienced different emotions over the last year. I know I have. I've felt all different things, a gamut of feelings. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, I'm a wife. I have friends, but my world has been turned upside down. And I'm sure all of your worlds also have shifted. And I think that this is one of the important things that we have to look at, is not only has the world shifted, but to throw in the mix, we're also older adults. And we're also dealing, in addition to what we're experiencing with what's going on in the world, we also have our own transitions that we're going through. There's physical and cognitive health issues we might be experiencing. You might be a caregiver, a care receiver. You might be just recently retired or still working and thinking about retirement. You might be thinking about relocation to something that will provide you with more assistance, perhaps, but you have to think about it because, like, do you want to start moving right now in the midst of all this stuff? So these are some of the things that you might be experiencing in addition to the situation with the pandemic. Social connections. I don't know about you, but the only way I can connect with people today is by phone or by Zoom, by FaceTime, or by chance of if I'm going out for a walk, I pass someone on the street wearing a mask. Sometimes I don't know who they are, but they introduce themselves. And in the midst of all this, we experience loss. The world goes on. We continue to experience our losses, and it could be a multitude of different losses that we might be experiencing. So life gets complicated, and it can get complicated. So we thought we'd say goodbye to 2020, and we wanted to say hello to 2021. So what have we learned? What have we learned from the past year? What have you learned? And what do you hope for? I would love for some of you to kind of share your thoughts about what experiences you've experienced. What have you felt in the last year? What have you come away with? Any lessons, any epiphany, anything that you found that was, wow, I never realized. Having gone through the last year, I learned something about what's going on. Anyone? We're all very quiet today. Well, I'll tell you what I've learned. I've learned that things are tough. Okay. And I'm young, I'm still young, but things are tough. Even for me, they're tough. And I haven't gone through too many transitions, thank goodness, but things are tough. But I also discovered that we're resilient. We are strong individuals who learn to adapt. We can be creative. Look at this. Today, we're all connected. This is being creative. This is thinking outside of the box. How do we stay connected in a world where we have so many disconnects? I also discovered I can do with less. You know, think of the weekly things or the monthly things that we used to think were so important in our lives. Manicures, pedicures, I'm talking for me, not for the men, but for the women. Maybe for the men too. Men have pedicures and manicures. Haircuts, going to a restaurant and being able to eat and being served, right? Now I'm the server. I'm the cooker and the server and the cleaner upper, okay? So, but I've learned to do with less. But I've also found out that connections really matter. And I think that is one of the greatest things that I've come away with is the need to be connected and not to feel disconnected. And this is an area that we really have to try and think about. And when we're moving into 2021 and it's already February, what are the things that we hope for in the new year? I was hoping that the vaccine would come much sooner than what we're learning. Okay, I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping that by the summer we'll all have been vaccinated. I'm hopeful that for sure anyone 65 and older will have been vaccinated. I'm hoping for warmer weather, because once the warm weather comes, we know we can be outside more. I know I'm so limited visiting my mom, who's on today. When I visit her, we depend on the weather, and I meet her outside wearing our masks, and we go for walks if the sidewalks are clear. So we learned to be creative on how to stay connected. We even figured out how we can kind of hug each other without really hugging. We've created an interesting dance that's our special hug. So we've learned to be a little bit thinking outside of the box. How do we still do the things that are so important to us, but maybe do it a little differently? And we just hope, and I hope, that life will go back to some semblance of normalcy, something as close to what we knew it over a year ago. Does anyone have any comments so far? Anything anyone wants to just jump in and say or ask? Remember, you're muted, so if you want to talk, unmute yourself. No, you're all just, okay. Still seeing you, okay. So I talked a little bit about myself. What have you discovered about yourself? So there's still other things that we keep on discovering as time keeps going. So I talked about the little things that are important, the value of being connected, of being able to see people, not just on the phone, but being connected by Zoom. Interestingly enough, I find I have less stress in my life because I'm not scheduling appointments and running and having to drive in this weather or find my way to get to a certain place. I order my food through the internet now. I don't even have to go into a food store. That's one stress less. And this is the things that we need to look at and say, what have you discovered about yourself that's been positive? Not just the negative stuff, but what's the positive stuff? And surprisingly, even my husband has said, with this lockdown, there is less stress because we're not running, we're not on the treadmill. It's forced us to slow down a little bit and take stock of what's important to us. And even for those who have families who are out of town, I'm sure you've found creative ways to stay connected, whether it's with grandchildren, whether it's being able to read a story to them or write them a letter or be able to sing songs with them and catch up on their day, and with your children, with your adult children as well. So these are things that we never used to do, but we are resilient and we find ways in which to be creative and find different ways of staying connected. So if we think about who we are and our mental health. So what is mental health? So mental health is the successful performance of mental function, resulting in productive activities, fulfilling relationships with other people, and the ability to adapt to change and cope with adversity. And I really believe that all of you have been working on these aspects of your mental health, that you're staying engaged, you're connected here today, which is fantastic. It demonstrates your connectedness, your interest to stay knowledgeable and updated with interesting things. You maintain relationships this way, you stay connected, you're not isolated. So you're being able to be with other people. And you're facing adversity and change by being here today. But we know that it's not always easy. Being upbeat, being cheery, being connected, finding the energy to do things a little differently is not always easy. And sometimes you find yourself thinking a lot because we have lots of time to think now. Sometimes too much time. And sometimes we reflect and we think of the past and then we worry about the future And so these are the kind of things that can really get us into a rut. And yes, it's more difficult these days, so that we can end up sometimes falling into areas that become a little more challenging for us. And we become more fearful, perhaps, and start to panic, perhaps, about what's going to be. We can feel restless and we can feel on edge. You can be irritable. Sometimes your sleep might be disturbed. I know sometimes my sleep is really strange these days. I have a lot of really weird dreams. And I chalk that up to the experiences we're going through. You know, these are unusual times, and all of us have not had this experience, but we have a shared experience, and we can be feeling some of these feelings. You might be getting headaches sometimes, or feeling tense, and you might be feeling it in your shoulders or in your back. You might be having stomach issues. You might be easily fatigued and worrying about, and part of worrying, you could be wringing your hands, or you could be having a pounding heart sometimes if we over worry, and you can be short of breath a little bit. So these are some of the signs that we might be experiencing that are a result of are the worries and the compounded fears that we have about what we're going through. Does anyone have any questions about any of these? So these symptoms, and I don't like to label anything. I really don't, because labeling doesn't help us. So, you know, if we look at these, you know, we can say, okay, that's someone who's very anxious. Okay. But it doesn't mean that you're anxious all the time. You might feel some of these things some of the time, and not all of the time. And that's what we have to be aware of. And that's what we have to kind of take stock of how are we feeling? How do we feel? When you wake up in the morning, how are you feeling? You know, when someone says, how are you? Well, how am I right now? How was I yesterday? How do I think I'll be tomorrow? Well, how are you right now? If I were to ask any of you, I don't know if anyone's going to answer me. How are you right now? Put up your thumbs if you're okay. Oh, that's so good. That's
we are very happy. We are positive, and all what you're talking is exactly what we are applying. Connection, talking with the grandchildren, planning for singing on Shabbat at evening with them. I read them the Dvar Torah. I take Moshe's lesson. I follow Moshe's lessons. So we are planning. We're planning our day. Every day we are very busy doing things, and we are resilient. We are strong. We try to defeat the negativity.
That's fantastic, and that's
my
exactly...
wife and I. We share that. I'm married to. My wife is sitting here for I'm married since 59 years. 59
Don't mess
years.
up the years. You have to know how many years.
59 years.
Mazel tov.
Marriage.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. And you're doing excellent speech, excellent remonte plante. You know, we enjoy it very much, and God bless you.
Good. So I think the Abadis, that's your family name.
That's
you know, they're talking about the things that they're doing to kind of stay connected and stay engaged. And sometimes it's a little harder for people who are living alone. And we have to recognize that.
Absolutely.
You know, not everyone lives in a community where there's people around, right? So that's an additional challenge, to be able to find ways in which to stay connected and find interests that keep us connected. And we could also experience other kind of feelings. So as I said, your sleep habits can change, your change in appetite, especially if you're used to going and having lunches with people and being social. Food is very social. So the world has changed for those who do live alone, and you're eating alone now for most of the time. So it could have an impact on your appetite, which is really important, because if you don't maintain a good balanced appetite and good balanced meals, then you can run into other issues. You can run into health issues if you're not eating properly, if you forget to eat, or if you're just eating junk food, because we've changed the way in which we socialize and eat. And for me, my greatest pleasure was making Friday night supper and having my families over. We don't have that anymore. But we've tried to maintain a Friday night, just my husband and myself, as I can't say lonely because I'm not alone, but as different as it is, you need to have that routine that you're used to, and you try and do that. You could have changes in concentration or decision making. These are some of the things that if you feel you're becoming more sad and feeling more isolated and more alone, you might feel, what's this all about? How can I possibly go another 6 months like this? We have to find ways in which we can, and we have to build on that. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. How can we keep our interest in the things that we used to value so much, even though we might not be able to do it anymore? But how do we stay active in our activities that we get pleasure? Because loss of pleasure has a domino effect. If you lose pleasure in something, then you become quite apathetic, and then you become more tired and more fatigued, and then things can snowball. So these are some of the aspects that some people might be feeling quite desperate, okay, in situations that we're living through. So we talk about our physical ailments, but why not our mental health concerns, right? We're always talking about what hurts us, what medications are you on, what's your blood pressure, what's your cholesterol number, I have a headache, I have a doctor's appointment, I have an eye appointment. But why don't we talk about our mental health, which is so, so crucial? And I don't know if any one of you are watching the TV. I hope not too much negative TV, but there's so much talk now about our mental health and staying well because of the way in which we're forced to live right now. But why are we hesitant to talk about it? What is our fears? If you tell someone you're feeling sad a lot and you find yourself crying, what are the risks? Are they real risks? Do you think that you're less of the person you were before, that you might lose the ability to make your own decisions about your life and the life choices that you want for yourself? Very many people, and it's out there in the media now. People are hesitant to talk about it, but people are starting to talk about it. And they're showing all these famous people who are coming out and talking about their depression and their anxiety and their experiences, people who are perhaps bipolar, who have bipolar disorder, and they're starting to talk about it. And I teach a course on mental health and the School of Social Work. And you would be utterly surprised, and I was when I started to teach it around 5 years ago, the strength of the students who come out and talk about their mental health issues and their challenges. And I think that generation is much more comfortable talking about their mental health and stepping forward and saying, yeah, I struggle with depression. but I'm doing this to try and deal with it. Or I do take medication for my anxiety and it helps me. So younger people tend to, it's more acceptable with the younger population to talk about their mental health. But I do know that for older people, older adults, there's a hesitation, there's some fear, there's some resistance, and there's shame attached to it. And shame is the worst thing. I think that shame can be, I would call it the worst illness to have, because with shame, you feel devalued, you feel less worthy of who you are. And the negative effects of shame, of stigma, the stigma of mental health, the stigma of not feeling well, of having some of those feelings that we just talked about, that it turns into very negative stuff. The reluctance to seek help or to get help. Okay. If you don't talk about it, then no one knows. When your family physician asks you, how you feeling? And you say, oh, I'm fine. Even though perhaps you're a caregiver and you're working almost 24 hours a day because you're on all the time, or you might be just feeling really badly because of what's going on, or something significant has happened in your life, perhaps a recent loss, and you're having difficulty with it. We need to speak out and speak up, because doctors don't always screen well for our mental health. They don't always ask us the right questions. They really don't. They see the patient in front of them, the physical part, but they don't always think about what's happening on the neck up, right? We're talking about a real holistic look at who we are, because our mind affects our health, our physical health, and vice versa. We might also think that lack of understanding by family and friends or others, okay? So that by not talking about it, we think that family, friends, or significant others won't understand how we're feeling. And you might be going through things and people just aren't understanding what you're going through because you're not willing to talk about it. So that's really important to think about, the importance of talking about it. And lastly is this kind of shame and feeling less valued, that you never will succeed at certain things, or that you can't improve your situation because of the way you're feeling. Well, that's false. And that's a real false notion, because by talking about it, by reaching out and getting the kind of support you need, and not only necessarily from a professional, it could just be from a family member or a friend, your situation can improve. Okay? Because by staying within this bubble of this stigma, of this fear of talking about it, you, in addition to being isolated because of COVID, you become even more isolated. So what can you do to try and reduce and alleviate some of these feelings? So we look at this healthy aging concept, and these are really important aspects of aging. We know we come into the world with the genes we inherited. We can't change those genes. Sometimes we have good genes, sometimes we have not so good genes, okay? But if they're not so good genes, what can we do to mitigate them? How do we improve those genes that we know perhaps there's a family history of heart issues, or that there's cancer in the family, or that there's whatever, diabetes? What can we do? And so that through diet can sometimes impact on who we are and what we're living with. We know medication is not always just the answer. Diet very often is has to go hand in hand with medication to treat whatever we're having, what we're dealing with. Exercise is crucial. Sitting on a couch watching CNN every day, for me, I think that's, for me, I would get very depressed. I think because they see the world through a certain slant. Some of it's informative, but we need to get away from the TV. We need to unplug it, close it off, and do other things. Social activities like we're doing today, we're all together, which is great. We're engaged, we're using our brains, we're thinking, we're reflecting, we're trying to have some insight into ourselves and where we are in this discussion. What are some of the productive pursuits you might be doing? Some of you might be doing some artwork. Some of you might be knitting or crocheting. Some of you might be working with clay. I don't know what's going on in your houses. Some of you might be reading books, novels. You know, those are the kind of things, and social activities. So we have many ways to maintain our healthy aging that not only helps us physically, but also helps us emotionally and cognitively. So these are the kind of things that are crucial in the interplay. And you see that the circles are all interconnected. Social activity isn't separate from our genes or from our diet. Everything is connected. So if we work in one area, it will have an impact on the next. Oops. Okay, so how do we build our toolbox? How do we move into building the kind of things in our lives that really help us address all those aspects that we were looking at? And what are some of the aspects of those circles that you looked at that you might be a little not so strong in? So you should consider those different circles and think about, which circle do I need to work more on? Maybe you're great at social connectedness, and maybe you really are very conscious about your diet, but maybe you're low on exercise. So maybe you have to look at, how are you going to build your toolbox so that you really give enough attention to all those aspects? So some of them are, when you exercise your body, you exercise your mind. There's meditation. Some of you might meditate. Some of you might do some mindful exercises. If some of you are good with the computer, there are apps. There's lots and lots of apps about, when we talk about meditation, I don't talk about sitting cross-legged on a pillow. I'm talking about breathing exercises, some real good mindful exercises, which is a whole nother discussion we can have just for a session on that. Walking is, no one's telling us we can't walk. Gardening, well, it's seasonal. We can't really do that right now. And do exercise routines in your home can all benefit your mental health. So by exercising your body, you exercise your mind. The interplay between what the brain releases in terms of endorphins and in terms of impacts on your mood, it's incredible. Sleep is never overrated. You know how much rest you need, you should try and get it. Usually 7 to 8 hours, but I mean, I can go on 6. So everyone has their quota of what really a good night's sleep should be. Choosing food wisely. I've been baking a little too much. So that's not so good, but it's also an activity. It gives me something to do. It keeps me busy. I've been baking, cooking, making soups. It's like, but I'm trying to do as healthy as I can so that, because we don't eat out, right? Which is also a good thing. I don't have a bread basket in front of me in a restaurant where I would end up indulging in how many pieces of fresh bread. So but we need to choose our food wisely. Stay informed and take practical steps to protect yourself and your loved ones. So we know masks. We have to wear masks. That's going to be with us for quite a while. If that's the worst, if that's the only thing that we have to do, in the long term to get through this, then that's okay. But you got to protect yourself. You got to protect your loved ones, and don't take risks and thinking, oh, I know my friend, she is so careful. I think I'll let her into my house and have a cup of coffee. Well, you really don't know who she's been around or who he's been around. It's a real domino effect. So you really need to be careful about staying informed and taking practical steps to protect yourself. But we also need to get the facts from trusted sources. Okay. Sometimes we get information that isn't factual. So we need to really make sure that the information we're getting is the right information. And we also need to appreciate what we have. And I talked about that earlier. Rather than focusing on what we don't have right now, focus on what you do have. So that's gratitude. We need to think about the things in our life that we do have. And I have to remind myself sometimes, if I'm talking to a friend and I'm saying, oh, this or that, but then I have to stop myself and I force myself and I say, no, be quiet. No, I have to be thankful for what I have right now. And that's something that doesn't come easy. We like to complain. So we need to really try and focus on what we have rather than what we don't have. Being home, we have our drinks. We have to remember to try and drink moderately. Okay. Whoops. We have to remember to drink moderately. We do know that overindulging can cause a lot of health issues, physical health issues, and cognitive health issues. And also we increase our risk for falling if we overindulge, especially as we get older. Our balance can become impaired quite easily by overindulging in drinking. Remember to take our medications. That make sure you always have enough at home and you take it properly. That's very important. Don't try and, I remember when I was seeing some clients who were really in financial straits, really had some financial issues, and they had to make some choices. Do they pay their rent or do they pay for their medication? These are things that have significant impact on our lives if we don't take our medications properly. Pharmacies set up our medications. I'm sure most of you know you can have Dosset boxes or those blister pills, those blister pack medications. They could be arranged for you through your pharmacist. So you need to make sure that your medications are, first of all, you're not taking outdated medications, and that your prescriptions are updated. Reduce your guilt. Who has guilt? Hands up. Who experiences guilt? Anyone? Just me? Am I the only one who ever feels guilty? Come on. We always have a little bit of guilt somewhere. I'm trying to throw my guilt away. Okay? I have to remember what I can and cannot do. I feel guilty because I don't see my kids, my grandkids, my mom, but it's out of my control. So I don't own that guilt. It's not mine. I do what I can. Living in the present rather than dwelling in the past or worrying about the future. That's another thing I struggle with sometimes. I'm a worrier. I got it from my mom, right, Mom? I got it honestly. That's in my genes. Those are one of my genes. So I'm a worrier. So I have to try and focus on the here and now. And which takes me into the opportunity to do some mindful exercises, which I do practice. It has to do with good breathing. Sometimes I find myself getting a little bit anxious or a little bit worried. I do 2 minutes of just breathing, just focusing on my breathing. And then it allows me to kind of just be centered and back here and now. And here I am, and it reduces my heart rate, and I feel much calmer. And feel your feelings, recognize them. Don't shut them off. What are you feeling? And try and talk to someone about that. So action changes things. We do know that. Sitting in your living room or in your den and just sitting there and not doing anything isn't going to change anything. So I'm going to just leave you with some positive steps we can do. And it doesn't take much. Try and laugh more. It's one of the best ways to reduce tension. Maybe some of you are getting some funny emails with funny videos. You know, some of them I laugh out loud, which is really good. And I pass them on. I send them on to family and friends. And that's really laughing more. You know, sometimes you try and get your grandkids to tell you a joke. It might be really corny, but because it's so corny, it makes you laugh. Stay hopeful. Your positive attitude helps to create positive outcomes. We have to try and stay hopeful. We know things are going in the right direction. It might not be going at the speed that we want, but it's going in the right direction. Try new things, try new activities, like today, what you're doing. You've signed up for some of these programs. Take a risk. What could you have to lose? An hour of your time, okay? And it keeps life fresh. Stay connected, as we talked about, with people. Recognize when you need help, and I talked a little bit about that already. Remember to relax and breathe. You ever sometimes doing something or thinking about something, and then all of a sudden you go, you were holding your breath the whole time? Okay, we have to breathe. Breathing allows us just to release all that pent up negative stuff that's going on in us. Try as much as possible to be positive and relish the
Je ne fais rien.
Someone talking? Someone have a question? No. Okay. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Yeah? Okay. And connect with your spiritual self. I think the Abadi family talked about that. You know, whatever spiritual means to you, you know, it could be through many different venues that you might think what's spiritual, whether it's through prayer, whether it's through reading, whether it's through talking to someone, whether it's through meditation, whatever works for you. You stay connected with your spiritual self. And the other aspect, which links back to our mental health, is sometimes we just can't do it alone. Sometimes all those things that I just mentioned just aren't enough. You're still feeling crappy. You're still feeling blue. You're still having trouble sleeping. You're still worrying about everything. Seek out professionals when you feel you need some additional support. There's never shame in asking. And there's so many resources out there. I mean, we start with our family physician. We always start. Try and connect with your family physician, who's the first start. There's all the CLSCs, the local CLSCs, the SUSs. They all have resources that can help you. There's also, I have a list of other resources, which maybe the rabbi can somehow post or we can email to you. Some of these, AMI Quebec is Action on Mental Illness. It's a resource that's phenomenal. Throughout my whole professional career, I've worked with them. It's not only for those who suffer from mental illness, but for the families who are the caregivers or the ones who worry about those with mental health issues. So that's an excellent resource. There's the Cummings Jewish Senior Center. There's a telehealth program that some of you might be aware of, that you can call and doing telehealth. Years ago, telehealth was really only used for very remote communities who couldn't get in touch with their doctors face to face. So they were able to use telehealth. Telehealth, I think, is the future of a lot of physical and mental health services. And a lot of places have developed telehealth in the last year. The Alzheimer's group, if anyone is a caregiver or themselves concerned about their own cognitive health, there's Alzheimer's group, which is an excellent resource as well. MADA, you might be aware of, which has multitude of services to the Jewish community. Then there's Revive, which is a listening line. Okay, it's for anyone suffering from anxiety, depression, or bipolar disorder. And there's a phone number that's at no cost. For those who really are having tremendous difficulty with their mental health or concerned about anyone, can call Suicide Action Montreal. There's Tele Aîné, which is a listening line for 60 and older. It's free, anonymous. So that's Tele Écoute, that's the organization. And this is another caregiving service like Ami Québec, which can also provide support. And there's also a very interesting program that you may or may not be aware of. It's called TIP OA. It's a telehealth intervention program, again, telehealth, which was launched through the Jewish General Hospital for older adults over the age of 60 and their caregivers. They have trained volunteers from the Jewish General who provide confidential, free, and friendly phone calls at regular weekly intervals to their clients who are older adults across Montreal. The volunteers help assess basic needs, other basic needs, such as medication, food, transportation, and can help liaise with community resources. They have volunteers who speak multiple languages. So if you or anyone you know might benefit from this, who might be more comfortable in a language other than French or English, that's an excellent resource, and you can call yourselves and leave a message. And of course, Chabad of the Town is another resource that we know has done incredible outreach and contacting the whole community. And I'm just not saying their community at large, in reaching out for any needs or unmet needs that they might have. So at this point, I don't know if anyone has any questions, anything that you feel wasn't addressed or you have a question about that you weren't sure about.
So yes, I would like to, first of all, Nona, I'd like to thank you very much for a beautiful presentation, very informative. It would be nice if people would unmute themselves. If you want to have a question or a comment, this is more interactive. It's not just a lecture. It's more of trying to help us all navigate our way through these challenging times in the best way. So feel free and comfortable. You're all well experienced in life and well established, so you don't have to worry about what the question may be. And we really, it was really beautiful, and we really definitely appreciate. I think everyone appreciated your thing, and for everyone, we look forward. We ask you to sign up for the month of February. We look forward to seeing you for our Shabbos program, 11:30 on Friday. Tell some friends. It's going to be very exciting as we roll this out more and more. But your interaction is a big part of it. It's for you and with you. So I'm going to take a step back. And if you want to, anyone wants to have a question or comment, feel free. Unmute yourself. Just unmute yourself and say your name. Any takers, or are we?
The other option, which I don't know if anyone is comfortable with, there's also at the bottom of your screen, there's a chat for those who feel uncomfortable talking, and that's for moving forward in any of your other presentations that the program will have. You can always click on chat and have your question posed there or your comment. And so when you press chat, you can, at the bottom, it says to everyone, you could type in your question and then you just press enter and it's sent, and we can all see your question or your comment, or it could actually be sent directly to the speaker and no one else has to see it. If you click on everyone, that little arrow, you see it has everyone's name, and it could just be sent to me or it could be sent to everyone. So that's another option for those who would prefer not speaking aloud, but just moving forward, it's another venue of how, and I use it at school when I teach, and very often students just don't want to talk. They write their questions or their feedback there, and it's just great.
So not only did we get something on the facing challenges, we got a little bit of a computer course also.
Yeah, it's a good tool to have.
Yeah. So if there are no questions, I mean, you were very clear in your, but if there are no questions or comments, you can raise your hand if you want to ask, you need some help and you're figuring out what to do. Okay. So we do have, could we receive copies? So Nona, you'll send me what, we will send a copy to everyone that was in the class of what Nona put together. And there was something else you wanted me to send. We will, you send it to me, I'll send it out to everyone.
Yeah, I think everything's in there. I'll make it a PDF and send it back to you.
Okay.
Or you want to make it into a PDF?
No, you can make it into PDF.
I'll make it into a PDF and send it to you.
And you also had some organizations or some, you said you wanted to give some other.
Yeah, it's all listed. It's
Okay, perfect.
Comprehensive. And I do want to just add, which I didn't add, just to say that, we've all made it to where we are in terms of our age. And you've all gone through different trials and tribulations and challenges in your life. So just by that sheer notion that we are here today talking, it's a demonstration of your resiliency and your capacity and your strength to move forward and face the challenges that we're facing. So I do want to just congratulate you and thank you for being here, and for your ability to just move through this period in our life that is so strange and unusual. Beautiful, beautiful. I do want to thank you all for joining. And as I said, every Friday, 11:30, we'll have a great half-hour pre-Shabbat uplifting with some singing and music. Also next week, Tuesday morning, you can still pass the word around if you signed up yet, or you can sign up. We'll have a talk by a lawyer about how to remain in control of yourself and your assets as you're getting older, and you have to think about these things. It's very important, because at some point, if you can't make the right decisions, the question is who controls becomes a big problem, whether it's going to be the government, the state, the hospital, God forbid. And then we have the last two sessions of this month are activities. We have a great, we'll have an art program where we'll send you some supplies to partake in it. And then we have the last one, some exercises you can do at home. So it looks very exciting. And thank you all so much for joining and for being part of it. Welcome. And let's continue to feel young at heart. Be well, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Nona.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.